hours, and only 4 of them were done in the form of online sessions with students. As for the rest of the time, as for the rest of activities, all these activities were done by students individually and were delivered online, like recorded video lectures, different activities, additional readings, additional watching, and assignments. Well, of course, there was prompt feedback, of course, and there were good opportunities for communication through email and so on. So no matter what kind of course we have, online or blended course, it presupposes web-based delivery, which of course promotes students' independence and autonomy. And here there is like the greatest, probably the greatest problem of online or blended learning. So students should be really autonomous. They should be ready to work a lot on their own. And it's quite possible in case of university education or high school students, but as for young learners, I'm not so sure. Okay, then face-to-face processing used to build a deeper understanding. So no matter what kind of course it is, face-to-face processing is present in all of them. Well, various methods and techniques. So actually online learning and blended learning is a combination of various methods and techniques like web class, debates, and so on. Different types of instructional web-based technologies, different tools, different types of activities, which include problem-based professional tasks, if we speak about university students. Stimulating collaborative learning, and this is also, it's very important because groups meet to share and build upon. And actually, in our case, in case of language teaching and learning, so this collaborative learning is like a must, in my opinion. And also creation of products by students, which is also of utmost important because students need to be motivated and feel that what they do is socially important. Well, and actually we need to create personal learning environment, which is learner-centered, of course. And here it has like 2 approaches, like pedagogical approach, how we teach, and also technological approach, which tools, which technologies we use. Well, scholars tend to focus a lot and give preference to pedagogical approach. Actually, probably it dominates, we may say. But technological approach is also very important because it's of utmost importance what type of tools we use, what technologies we use, how accessible these technologies are to our students. Wow. So as for the requirements to the teacher, of course, teachers need to demonstrate great communication skills. And well, as for online teaching, and also extra sense of patience and empathy. And we need to be active, listen to students actively and understand hidden messages because we do not see their body language so well when we communicate online. The same skills are needed in face-to-face communication, but face-to-face learning, but they are potentially more accessible to implement. Time management skills, yes. It's also very important because online lessons may be intense and fast-paced, and we can easily lose track of time. And planning our lessons is very important. It's on the one hand, but on the other hand, it shouldn't take so much time. Those, experts say that usually to prepare for an online class or to prepare a blended course, it takes much more time than to prepare like a traditional course. And make sure that you teach different skills in the same lesson. Also, organizational skills, they are very important for us. Just using different digital folders, Google Drive, for example, or the favorite site, or for example, where you can bookmark your favorite sites. Well, as for computer skills, it goes without saying. And like some basic skills, we need to be able to share materials online, to use different learning platforms while we work with them, and to record videos, to send different files, to convert different file types, and so on. And well, the last sentence said that online teacher cannot live without Google Drive. As for me, I really cannot live without Google Drive. And besides, we need to master different tools like online boards and so on. So it's really challenging. So assessing students, it's quite possible to do online through, for example, Google Forms, or using like Zoom, Google Meet, Big Blue Button for interviewing. Well, it's all possible, of course, using Google Forms. There are some other sites shown, for example, this one shown at the bottom of the page. What is very important if we are working, for example, within some distant course, is the students' needs analysis, which is also, in my opinion, a must. Well, social media. I couldn't miss them because they are really very important nowadays, and we have the great opportunity to join groups of teachers online and to network and to watch different webinars online, which is also very important, and I am sure you know it all very well. What I also want to focus my attention on is that using online mode, we can teach all the skills necessary: vocabulary, grammar, phonetics, like speaking, writing, reading, listening, and also mediation or like translation as well. But it can be challenging sometimes, for example, teaching speaking online, but it's quite possible because we can comment on their students' answers either at once or a bit later. We can share, we can use a lot. Just if we use Big Blue Button, I don't know whether you use it or not, but very often we use Big Blue Button, like it's something similar to Zoom. And there we can like draw a lot, underline a lot of things and so on, which is also very convenient. And what is very important here, we can record the lesson, some parts of the lesson, and students can watch it, as well as teacher, by the way, can watch it later and analyze how they speak, for example, or how they participate in the lesson. Teaching reading online is also quite possible, like through digital versions of books, screenshots, and so on. All these pre-reading, while reading, and after reading activities are quite possible online and using, by the way, different tools, as well as teaching listening online. But the right equipment is important here. And we can be sure that students listen or can watch the video or audio files. For example, I prefer Zoom because it's much better to demonstrate some video in Zoom than, for example, in Google Meet or Big Blue Button. As for example, video. Things like that. And also all the activities like pre-listening, while listening, after listening activities are quite possible. Online can be a fun and enjoyable experience, really. Though we avoid it a little bit during our classes, but online it can be really funny. And I recommend, for example, collaborative writing activities by sharing Google Docs file, and each student can participate, can contribute to some writing here, either during the class or after the class, and so on. Well, I want to also draw your attention to some useful tools and resources, and the same. So we cannot do without online learning platforms. So as for me, I personally know some of them, but here we use Moodle. It's free. But I know about Canvas, which is some American universities use, for example, and I saw it when I was there, and I studied there, by the way, just among other questions, I studied their blended learning, how they organize blended learning. And so here the fragment Probably also work on Moodle. So here is the fragment how this distant course looks. I told you about it in some Polish university. Well, it's like some part of the course with the recorded lectures, with the PowerPoint presentations, some documents and assignments, additional reading, and so on. Well, I also wanted to share with you, so the tools I personally use a lot, and which can be easily incorporated in online learning. I am pretty sure that you can add a lot on your own. Well, here we can see some interaction board, some tools to create some tests and very interesting exercises and so on. Well, also I want to recommend, so at the beginning I said that actually online learning is a combination of different technology, and also it's a combination of different methods. And probably if we speak about role play or simulation, they are not very easy to conduct in this way. But I want to suggest web quests, and if we open this first link, just a minute, I can give you an example. Can you see it? Like Lord of the Flies survival web quest. Can you see it? Probably yes. Okay, good. So very interesting activity. Well, sometimes I ask my students, master students, to develop their own web quests, but well, this is the activity, for example, this one activity, based on William Golding's Lord of the Flies. And so this is the task. You wake up in a thick, in jungle, and you experienced air crash and so on and so on. There are like probably 20 of you or something like that. This is the explanation of the situation. And what is the task? They need to create, students need to create a survival manual. And this is the explanation, what kind of manual it should be. Bill of Rights for a new island society. And if you are acquainted with the Lord of the Flies, you understand what they mean. And also 4 diary entries, 2 by you, 2 by your partner, detailing different moments in your quest for survival on the island. Well, so there is the process, and what is interesting, there are a lot of links which will be very helpful for students when they create this manual, and so when they write these diaries and so on. For example, true life survival stories and so on. Very useful links. Evaluation, some conclusions, credits. It was a student's page and the page for the teacher to explain how it all works. Well, it's very, very short, very brief explanation of this method, but in my opinion, it can be very useful if you want to develop the 4 skills. And if you want to develop some kind of integrated skills. Well, probably that is all. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Professor Lyrna, for this great presentation. I'm sorry for some delay. So in time of COVID-19, we are all fighting with the ones who are fighting this pandemic. As educational staff, we are just trying to keep up our conferences in online in order to achieve some what's called interdisciplinary communication or collaboration. My aim is to present the second presenter, Professor or Associate Professor Maryna Mohammed from Fehres University. And it's a great welcome for her to start.
Okay.
Can you sign up?
I'm sorry, but I can't share my screen.
It's due to the professor Lyrna, she is the host. Can you just make
Yes,
her the
now
co-host?
Maryna, you are the host.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And
Can't you share anything?
no, I can't. Ah, okay, now I, yeah, now I can.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you for having me.
great.
Thank you for inviting me to your webinar. I'm happy to be with you again. It's the second time that I participate in the webinar like this. And my presentation is devoted to critical thinking, critical reading, and how to use the radar framework to evaluate text. So I would like to start my presentation with a story. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, and just to save time, I'm going to provide its summary. So, a woman in a faded dress and a man in an shabby suit left the train and headed to the office of the president of Harvard University. So they didn't have an appointment to see him. That's why the secretary warned them that the president was busy and would be busy all day. So the couple persistently waiting. Since they spent most of the day in the waiting room, the president let them come in. He was an arrogant man, you can see that from the picture, self-important man. He greeted them coldly because the appearance didn't command any request. So the woman told the president that their son had been a student of this university, but died suddenly. Therefore, in memory of their son, they would like to construct a new building for Harvard. The president laughed outright and added, "You cannot afford such a construction because all buildings at Harvard are worth more than $7 million. So the woman looked at her husband and quietly said, "It turns out to be so cheap. Why don't we build the whole university?" So they returned home and after a while built their own university. So the university has the name of their son, Stanford University. So it's an incredible story, isn't it? And it can be incredible and even enlightening if, and it's a big if it were not fake. How do we know that it's a fake? And what helps us recognize a fake? Of course, critical thinking, our ability to think critically. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is clear and flexible thinking. It means reasonable reflection on various matters, thorough analysis of the information, ability to examine a subject, ability to interpret an idea without being judgmental or biased. In other words, critical thinking is a special talent, a talent in making the right conclusion or the right decision when several standpoints on the same issue may seem correct. So, critical thinking is important today and it should be developed, and it should be developed everywhere, at university, in the workplace, in daily life, because while studying at a university, students have to demonstrate their abilities to think and read critically, and because they need to decide what to read, what to write, how to write it, to interpret other people's ideas, to form their other conclusions. Critical thinking is considered number one ability, number one skill in the workplace, because the employees need to demonstrate their ability to promote a teamwork approach to problem solving, to self-evaluate one's contribution to company goals, to use one's time wisely, and to practice self-reflection. And critical thinking is very important in everyday life too. What do I mean to say? Nowadays, when the information space is full of fake news, made up stories, fictitious heroes, the ability to evaluate information provided, to weigh up different arguments, to bring the information together, to tackle the false evidence in order to form a conclusion is becoming really crucial. Oh, well, it's not surprising that nowadays, when anyone can post any information on the internet, it is easy to dupe people. It's easy to misinform. It's easy to deceive. And the internet has made it easier than ever. So according to the statistics, 75% of people who see a hoax think it's real. So in this case, we have to do something about it. We have to change something about it. Why does it happen? Why so many people believe in fake news and fake stories? It's easy because our brains have a tendency to look for shortcuts and easy answers, and are easy to fool unless we use systematic methods to analyze information, situation and our own thought processes. So as you may see, it's easier to make people believe in what they read, in what they see, in what they hear, because critical thinking is not inborn. Critical thinking, it's a special skill which should be developed. And as misinformation currently becoming an ordinary thing, consumers of any information must be prudent. What do they have to do? In the first place, they have to scratch their heads. They have to use the reputable sources of information. They have to evaluate the evidence. They have to weigh the arguments and facts provided, and they have to practice a syntopical reader, syntopical listener, syntopical viewer. And the most important thing, they have to ask questions. Don't stop questioning, Albert Einstein said. So drawing a conclusion based on your emotional response is not critical thinking. Only questioning what we read, see, or hear is critical thinking. So that's why judgment about some issue, it is necessary, well, before making a judgment about some issue, it is necessary to ask questions. And the most important thing is to ask at least these three questions. What are the main arguments made in each text? Which of the arguments is more convincing? And which of the resources is more reliable? These three questions, easy questions, may form judgment about an issue. However, there is a more systematic way to evaluate text, and this way is called the radar framework. As you may see, each letter in the name of this framework stands for something. R stands for rational. So we remember we have to ask as many questions as possible while reading the text. What does it mean? What is the text? What is the purpose of the text? To inform, to impose, to persuade, to sell something, to entertain, to dupe, to educate, whatever. Is it a bias? Are there enough arguments, facts, evidence? How many viewpoints are presented? Are there alternative viewpoints? Is there enough evidence to support the idea? A stands for authority. It means who is the author of this article? What are the author's credentials? Is the author an expert on the subject? they are talking about who is a publisher, who is an editor. D, of course, stands for date. When was the information published? When was it last updated? Is the information still relevant? Is newer information available? Has the situation changed or not? The other A stands for accuracy. Was the source viewed by the editor? Who are the reviewers? Was it fact-checked? Do other sources support the information presented? And the final R stands for relevance. Who is the intended audience? Is the information too simple, too academic, too technical for you to use? Does it meet your requirements? Does it answer your questions? So, as you may see, at first sight, the main reason of the radar framework is to assess the reliability of information. That's why let's take a look at the story I told you at the beginning of my presentation, and let's look at it through the prism of the radar framework. So, what is it written for? The letter R, rational. To induce certain feelings, to teach people not to be judgmental and biased. Okay, this purpose is wonderful. To induce certain feelings, okay. To teach people not to be judgmental and biased, okay, great. But is there enough evidence to support the idea? Okay, Stanford, his wife, the president of Harvard University are the main heroes of this story? No, there are no evidence to support this idea. Authority, who is the author? We don't know, we can't find the author. Who is a publisher? Ta-dam, the internet site Anecdotes from Russia. So can we trust this information? Of course not. And who is the editor? Nobody. There is no editor on this site, and anybody can post any text, any story, anything here. So let's go ahead. Date, when was it published? Okay, somewhere in 2018. When was it updated? It was not updated because it can be found now as a historical fact, as a repost on social network. And is the information still relevant? It has never been relevant, but it is circulating on social network as a historical fact. So accuracy, who are the reviewers? Nobody, none. Was it fact-checked? No, because the fact is that yes, the Stanford University was founded in 1885 by Leland Stanford, and he was a senator. He couldn't wear a shabby suit, and he couldn't leave the train to go to the university, to Harvard University to meet the president of that university, and he couldn't wait all day long in the waiting room. The same can be said about his wife. And why they founded this university? Not in memory of their son. No, it was just some political reason. Okay, and speaking about their son, yes, he died. He died when he was 15 years old, and it means that he couldn't have studied at Harvard University. So everything represented in this story is fake, but it is necessary to find this fake. So relevance, who is the intended audience of this of such a text? Credulous internet users. So you read, you trust, you spread this news. And is the information too simple or too academic or too technical for you to use? No, this information is too silly to spread it as a historical fact. And the question is, why do you think this information still circulating through the internet, because the readers believe that this is a historical fact, and they post and repost and repost and repost it. I found, for example, 211 comments upon this article on the original site. Only 51 person out of 211 wrote it was a fake. The other people believed it was a real historical fact. So the conclusion is, whenever your students have to work with a text, remind them of the radar framework, which will help them think critically about the information they encounter. That's all I wanted to tell you today. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them at the end of the session. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Maryna. It was a nice presentation. So now we're waiting for Professor Abbas from Mustansira University. Any sign up from him, please? Or even the co-worker or co-instructor, Dr. Nadia Majid.
Dr. Mohammed, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course, clearly.
Well, before coming to, good evening, everyone, dearest guests, dearest audience. It is our pleasure to participate in this fruitful conference. Thanks to the University of Garmian, Dr. Yunus, Dr. Mohammed, Burhan, for inviting us to this demonstration. Let me introduce myself. Professor Abbas of Mustansira University College of Arts, Department of English, specialization. I specialize in applied linguistics, experience more than 28 years of teaching EFL in University of Baghdad and Mustansira University. Now I give the floor to my partner, Dr. Nadia, to introduce herself.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you to Dr. Yunus for giving us this chance to participate in this webinar and to meet our dearest colleagues and our dearest guests, Prof. Aryan of Moscow University, Associate Prof. Maryna of Ukraine, and Dr. Mohammed Burhan of Garmian University. I want to introduce myself. Assist Prof. Dr. Nadia Majid. I am Technical Instructors Training Institute. I have 11 years of experience teaching in EFL, and I specialize in applied linguistics, English language teaching.
Okay.
Now. Yes.
Before coming to the topic and indulging in the topic, I would like to shed light on the motives behind the choice of this topic. Well, in fact, there are two motives behind the choice of these topics. One is that studies in Iraq, mostly interested in linguistics and ELT, both have not given due consideration to pragmatics issues in classroom. For linguistics, most dissertations, theses are constructed to account for studies such as discourse analysis, pragmatics, CDA, stylistics, text analysis. And for EFL studies, mostly they are concerned with the investigation of impact, effect of strategies, techniques on students' performance. Both branches seem to neglect the study of pragmatics within the classroom teaching. This is the first motive. The second motive is that we set out to identify sources and remedies for the problem faced by Iraqi students in respect to the study of expressive speech acts, particularly apology and condolence. Yes, Dr. Nadia?
The idea of relating structural grammatical knowledge to pragmatic knowledge attracts our attention and encourages us to conduct this topic. Meanwhile, some questions are raised. Why do students face difficulty in handling speech acts in general and apology condolence in particular? What are the reasons behind this difficulty? And why aren't students able to produce pragmatically accepted utterances when they are able to produce grammatical sentences? Through the presentation of the topic, we hope that our dearest academic can get answers to these questions.
Okay, our presentation will involve 3 parts: production, background, theoretical review, and then methodology, the bridge between theoretical part and practical side, and the 3rd part, test, results, and conclusion. I'm going to start with introduction, which gives the reason behind the choice of this topic. It has been observed that Iraqi EFR college students are often found to deviate from the socio-cultural norm features when they are required to produce certain spoken situation involving the use of expressive speech acts of apology and condolence. Mostly, their speeches and responses do not match those of native speakers, and thus they seem awkward to refer to certain spoken situation other than required in communicative process or interaction. We will see this at the end of this presentation. A lot of studies have been carried out to account for the deviation and failure in the performance of elocutionary acts and come up with the conclusion that this deviation is mainly due to the learner's inability to detect the suitable meaning. I mean here, suitable meaning, the suitable speech acts, selecting the appropriate meaning that does not fit the concerned produce elocutionary act of the target language. This is what is meant by socio-pragmatic deviation. And the second one, the inability to produce a suitable form, selecting the wrong linguistic means and strategies that do not fit the concerned produce elocutionary acts. I mean here, linguistic deviation. Now, I give the floor to my partner to give an idea about theoretical review, the background of the study. Yes,
yes, thank you. Speech acts, basically pragmatics has been governed by the speech act theory. The key basis of this belief that speech is described as an action. When someone says something, he or she is actually performing an act such as commanding, advising, apologizing, warning, etc. He and she or she does not only emit sound waves, utter words, and produce sentences, but also makes an action. In brief, by speech act, we mean we perform actions by uttering words and sentences. Yes. One of the speech act types is expressive, as stated by scholars interested in pragmatics like Asst, Saylor, etc. Expressive speech acts express a psychological state. For example, thanking, apologizing, welcoming, condoling, and congratulating. They are speech acts that state what the speaker feels. In an expressive speech act, the speaker is attempting to hold the truth of the expressed proposition in the content of the utterance. Hence, an apology hinges on the speaker being sorry. Condoling hinges on the speaker empathizing with the hearer, and so on. One type of expressive is the speech act of apology. An apology is often defined as an attempt made by the speaker to restore social harmony and reestablish the balance. As soon as the apology is accepted, the complaint is no longer a valid focus for talk. Apologies express regret for some offense committed by speaker against hearer. The speaker makes an offense hurting the listener and shakiness in their relationship is established. For example, I'm sorry for being late. And this example express the speaker has made and come to give this apology using I'm sorry. The second type of expressive is the speech act of condolence. Condolence is a word of empathy with the sorrow of others, particularly ritual expression. We mean conventionalized or common expressions. In a moment of sorrow and grief, it is an etiquette to show compassion towards the affected person or persons, though most people find the exact scene difficult and awkward. It is an oral expression which is employed to remove the feeling of grief. It shows a social significance as it contributes to the formation of compact and compliant society. It reflects the genuine feeling of the speaker towards the hearer. For example, please accept my condolence. Now, we move to a new topic, pragmatic deviation. Why do people deviate when producing expressives? Mostly, two cases lead to pragmatic deviations. They are, one, pragmatic deviation or failure occurs when the speaker uses grammatically correct sentences, but unconsciously violates the interpersonal relationship rules, social conventions, or takes little notice of time, space, and addressee. Pragmatic deviation, the second point is pragmatic deviation occurs when people with different cultural backgrounds tend to use different expressions and strategies to convey the same information. They pragmatically deviate from the cultural norms of the target language while communicating in a language other than their first language. One source of a pragmatic deviation is related to socio-pragmatic cause and reason. Socio-pragmatic deviation is primarily concerned with what to say and whom to say it to. Socio-pragmatic deviation stems from different cultural norms and pragmatic principles that govern linguistic behaviors in different cultures. Various cultures have various ways of thinking, rules of speaking, social values, and place different relative weights on the pragmatic principles. The different assessments of social restrictions have negatively influenced non-native speakers' linguistic choices. As a result, this will lead to socio-pragmatic deviation. Yes. The second reason or source of the pragmatic failure is associated with pragmatically deviation. Linguistic deviation comes about when the pragmatic force mapped by the speaker onto given utterance is systematically different from most frequently assigned to it by native speakers or the target language, or when conversational strategies are inappropriately transferred from the speaker's mother tongue to the target language. It has much to do with recognizing how to phrase an utterance to fit a certain situation. In this area, the learner failed to construct a suitable utterance phrase to fit pragma context.
Now we come to methodology.
Yes.
In methodology, three aspects are giving. The first one, the method followed. The second one, sample, and the instrument, which is a test. In methods, qualitative and quantitative method is used to describe and analyze in terms of statistical tools used for measuring students. Number, height, and percentage committed by the students. Sample. For the sample, okay, 40 students of the fourth year of the Department of the College of Arts, University.
Just keep continuing.
Okay. Muslim University, the test is administered at the end of the second term of 15th of May 2017, and the instrument is a prediction. Test consists of 10 items, 5 for apology and 5 for condolence. In fact, 10 spoken situations implying the use of expressive speech acts of apology and condolence are given to the students, and they are asked to give utterances in terms of these situations. Now we come to the first results of the production of apology. You can have a look at this time, this table. You can find that 5 items with the number of responses and percentages. Okay. And then the second one is table number 2, production of condolence.
Sorry for
So we have 5
Maryna, please, can you unmute the non-speaker?
Dr. Mohammed, there's a kind of noise.
Yes, Dr. Abbas, just wait 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Please, Dr. Lyrna, I think you're the host. Can you unmute the non-speakers?
You need permission because I'm the owner of this room. I don't need that.
No, because some people
لا ايميل
themselves
مال الجامعه
unintentionally.
ايميل قد كذا فورمال الاورجنايزيشن تعطيه على
Please,
جهاز
Maryna,
معين.
can you unmute the non-speakers? Just let Dr. Abbas to be the speaker.
Okay.
نرجع
المهم بس Please, Dr. Maryna, do you hear me?
ليش الحرج ليش
Just unmute the
تعالي
other
قول
non-speakers.
something new. I don't want to be يعني.
Yes, Maryna, please. That's great.
يعني
It's not very audible.
We have some echo, some sounds coming from that.
Mouse. Dr. Mohammed,
Would
you please just turn the host to yourself so you can control the meeting easily?
It can't be, Doctor. I tried. She has the right, as I think, to just let me. It couldn't be. I tried to do that.
Okay.
Yes. Because she's the only host here.
Okay. Arena, would you please just mute all the participants and just let the speaker unmute?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a minute.
Okay. While waiting.
And now it's good. I believe that the noise is coming from the speaker himself, so he has some issues in the background. See, when you muted the speaker, now we have no issues.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Omar. Thank you for your hand.
No problem.
Yes, Dr. Abbas, can you proceed?
Yes.
Keep continue.
Okay.
Shall I keep on?
Yes, go on.
Okay. And now we come to table number 2, production of condolence. You can see here 5 items with the correct responses and percentages. Now we come to the reasons behind this deviation and failure. You see that for the socio-pragmatic deviation, students always attempt to produce the required spoken situation, but use their language 1 socio-pragmatic resources because of the direct language 1 pragmatics. We will see this in the example giving later on. Yes.
Mr. Mohammed, you are on.
Okay, number 2, EFR learners might be unacquainted with the social, cultural, pragmatic manners of language 2, which are entirely dissimilar from that of language 1.
There is no.
Number 3, aspects of cultural norms, principles, and rules of language 1 cannot be appropriate or applicable to the norms of and the principles and rules of language 2. Can you see this slide?
No, we cannot see the slide. We cannot see the presentation.
Let me re-share it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Can you see it now? In order to make the picture clearer, you can have a look at such examples. Suppose that we ask the students for apology. The questions are, you want to leave the meeting. You have an urgent exam. Your friend has phoned you 4 times, but you were asleep. For apology, some students, they answer with, I want to leave the party. I am not happy in the party. Or they say, I am asleep. I cannot phone you. This is grammatical mistakes, not by me, by the students. My friend was asleep. And for condolence on the death of your dearest aunt, or condole your cousins whose mother has died recently, they give the following answer for condolence. They might say, that's our life. You must be sad, man, now. So sorry. I am so sad. God is merciful. And we all did. We can see that all these expressions, they are taken from Arabic culture, from Arabic norms. Okay, their answer do not sound apologies or condolences at all because of the interference of language 1. Students give straight translations related to everyday situation and activities, mistakenly giving refusal for apology, and they give or they ask permission or draw deduction and giving apologies for condolence. Principally, that students' improper interpretation occur owing to their absence of socio-cultural knowledge of language 2. They seem to be unaware of the principle initiated for the issuance of the Speech Act of condolence. Now we come to the second reason, which is sources of socio-pragmatic deviation. As we mentioned earlier, that socio-pragmatic deviation refers to the idea that the unfitting use of linguistic forms make a student deviate from the appropriate pragmatic utterance in correlation with the given situation and the expressive speech acts found in language 2 circumstances. The student's improper use of linguistic items is mainly ascribed to particular and suitable semantic and syntactic characteristics when giving answers. Now we come to the examples related to this point. when we ask students questions such as, you forgot to bring the money back on time, or he will answer or she will answer, I couldn't forget it, I will return the money. Okay, or when we ask them, you are at the funeral and run into the father of the dead, is his condolence, he or she might say, I am so sad now, and we all did. They have not perceived what these situations are envisioned to deliver, or they are unable to link linguistic forms to pragmatic meaning of an utterance. In brief, they cannot relate semantics or even syntactic knowledge to pragmatic knowledge to produce appropriate utterance. Now, I leave the floor to Dr. Nadia to give you an idea about the findings, the conclusions that this paper arrives at. Yes, please.
Thank you. Now we come to conclusion. EFL students find more difficulty in producing utterances implying the use of the speech act condolence than producing those of apology. This related to the point of familiarity. Apology is more common than condolence to study it more recurrent in Iraqi EFL classes. Iraqi EFL students' socio-pragmatic deviation in producing apology and condolence is mainly attributed to their lack of both socio-pragmatic and pragma-linguistic knowledge. The socio-pragmatic deviation has been ascribed to the interference of the learner's first language culture. Most of the non-native apologies and condolences have been considered as direct translations of students' first language culture into the target language. I think, of course, students find difficulties simply
Seems that she has lost the net.
Pragmatic knowledge to arrive at the intended meaning of apology and condolence. Now, on the basis of the findings that this presentation arrives at, some pedagogical recommendations are offered to people concerned with language teaching. Teachers should encourage EFL learners to practice English as much as possible, trying to make such a practice regular through the years of study, inside and outside the classroom, where students might talk to each other using English. Such a practice might develop the communicative ability of the students, target language, and hence leading to appropriate and fluent recognition and production of speech acts accordingly. They can get used to the target language pragmatic knowledge. It is not only necessary to build the EFL students' linguistic competence, but also to improve their pragmatic and communicative competence. Students might be continuously encouraged and motivated to explain the meanings or to put them in sentences that are related to different spoken situations, including the production of different elocutionary acts. Now, we move to the references and the component of the test.
Okay, you can have a look at such entries, references used in this study, and finally the test. As you see, we have 10 situations, 5 for apology and 5 for condolence. The students are asked to give proper speech acts of apology or condolence in terms of the giving situation. Anyhow, thank you very much for being patient, for your attention. Wish you the other success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. On behalf of Garmian University, College of Languages and Human Sciences, English Department, I'd like to show my thanks for all the instructors, I mean the speakers, and also the participants. And I give and deliver my apology because the Google form does not seem to work. So I have left the contact. You can just later on contact me, but I make sure that you will receive the certificate as soon as possible. Just leave your full names as soon as possible. So it seems that it comes to my turn, and I'll be short. I know the word is not that cool one to go on and proceed to make some time from you. Therefore, let me share my screen with you. So does it work, please? Can you just answer me?
Yes, it is as clear as yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. So my panel is entitled Learning Environment in Online Classes. So as I think it will wrap up something from Professor Lyrna, something from Maryna, and a little bit from Dr. Abbas, because it was purely academic, and thank you for that. And first of all, let us start with what do we mean by online classes. Online classes are constantly imparting and improving knowledge of learners separated by geographical distances. Now, you know that fact. The time or limitless, expansion beyond geographical boundaries attract large pool of talents. This is a clear definition for online. Before indulging myself with the online process, some differences between traditional and online learning environments. The traditional one, from here, we can observe that the student is somehow the receiver. And also there is a boss here, not a leader, giving instruction, face-to-face interaction, I mean. While on the other hand, online, here we have the learning web. Pay attention, I didn't say the student, I said the learning web. Combined from all these factors, we have the student and the peers, and this is called the parallelism between the peers and the student and the peers, and instructor, and technology, and content. So the web, the learning web is surrounded by all these factors in order to what? To serve this one who is the student. Yes, he's a receiver, but he somehow, we would know that he is also the participant, not the passive receiver only, especially in online classes even, despite the fact that it seems somehow difficult to achieve. Okay, traditional learning environment and online learning environment. The first point is that attending class on time. That's we can say, the point of punishment, while you're late. And the second one, active learners. Because we have two types of learning. As Lyrna said, there is a kind of synchronic and asynchronic. Later on, I will explain that. So the second one, being respectful to the other student and faculty. Here is, I think, in my opinion, the good side. The good side is because he has gotten we call it the actual life of campus. He would know people on their real reality. That's what face-to-face interaction. This is a good point from the traditional. While this one, contributing to discussion, maybe class discussions or a stream work or even a schedulized worksheet. Participation in class discussion, here we have providing reflection on classmate posts especially. So the classmate will receive or would know the mistakes or the wrong side of his own article, reading and anything, especially from his peers. From the second one, from you can say the other side, the other. The last point is that completing assigned, they are should be let in 10 more participants. Okay, so we have completing assigned coursework in a timely manner. While here, we have reading assigned information and completing assignment. Also, we have assignments, but somehow different from the traditional form or style. Let me go to the second one. Yes. We have learning theories that suit online environment. Ali said that behaviorist learning theory presumes that human mind is like an empty box and does not consider the effects of previous experiences and how these experiences influence learning. Here is a great point, because later on I would link the learning theory with the actual learning environment. directing learners towards sequential learning process, revealing explicitly and positive learning outcomes, because we have to expect the outcomes. I mean, the objective somehow in other terms. Well, somehow there's a slight difference between them. And providing direct feedback can help learners to improve in their comprehension, I mean, their understanding of the materials learned. And also we have the other learning theory or the school, it's called cognitive theory. It's based on the principle that the duration in working memory is approximately 20 seconds. Providing information in small chunks, placing important information in the center of the screen, explaining why the learners are given specific information. So we would know that the use of these theories, cognitive theory and behavior theory, and also structuralism or constructivism, we call it also. So back to online learning environment. Something very, very essential we have to know, all as instructors especially. Knowledge building communities. What do I mean by this concept? Different studies highlighted importance of forming community. Among students, researchers suggested that the sense of community is beneficial for the student's emotion and cognitive development, and I mentioned the sources. Essential to the online education experience is what various researchers have termed it. They call it community of learners or knowledge building communities. It means that community that you are involved or the discipline that you have shared something with you or own parties or students. Thus, I mean, when Ali said that proposed the importance of addressing what, how, and why in online classes, or class environment, sorry, behavior strategic, I mean, one of the theories, can be used to teach what, I mean, facts only, because the behavior is entirely depend on what? The stimuli and the response. There is something, yes, if you've seen this, you have to write this. As this, there is a kind of compatible ones. This will be the answer of that. And behavior strategies can be used to teach what facts I said. Cognitive strategy, on the other hand, can be used to teach the how. It means processes and the principles. Of that constructivism or constructivist strategy can be used to teach why. Higher level thinking of the promotes personal meaning and situated in conceptual learning. This is a kind of example of someone who is, in my idea, working in press or in journalism, because he has to think for 4 questions: what and when and where and why. So the answer of these 4 ones will just try to display what is going inside that environment or that situation or event. If we depend on Ali, in my own idea, we can determine students' engagement can be achieved through 3 integrated steps. Number 1, behavior engagement, emotional engagement, and cognitive engagement. Emotional engagement can be achieved through the emails and conversations with the faculty and the fellow students enrolled in that course, I mean specifically. While cognitive engagement is achieved through the assignments and the activities aimed at, this is very important, promoting learning. When you just upload a question, what do you expect from the other to answer? That's my own idea. What do you want from them to learn? Because just calculating, classing one after one, you would know the outcome of that course book or that subject that you are teaching. Class participation and learning. Activity tracking tools can help to achieve information about behavioral engagement. Okay, so we have class management in remote learning environment. The traditional one, you sometimes can be the boss, just giving orders, and you expect discipline from the students. Here, it's somehow not an easy task to achieve, I think, because when giving presentation in a remote learning environment, students can either do a live presentation in front of the class on Zoom, I mean synchronous, referring to Arena's word in the beginning of the session, or the pre-record the presentation for the instructors and peer to view later asynchronous. Both options require some pre-planning. Here's what you need to know, and I think it's very important to focus with these steps. Synchronous live. Online presentations are somewhat different in nature. So scoring things like eye contact and engagement through body language can be more challenging. It may be easier if we focus on aspects like, for example, voice level, when you have just a direct room in Zoom, talking with the other participants, delivery, and the content and organizations. Be sure to include any graded elements like this on the rubric. I mean, try to just depend on these, not just the assigned or the homework only. General Zoom Live presentation tips. Number 1, keep the student presentation short, about 10 minutes each, plus a few minutes for questions. And I prefer the question will be at the last of the session. Number 2, try to replicate a live in-person class as much as possible. Have all the students with the webcam access. In my country, it's not an easy task to achieve because we suffer from the net and the electricity and etc. And it needs time to talk about. So, and turn on their cameras to help them stay accountable for being present. I mean, if he is just alive and opening that webcam, so there is no need to just check it who is at the attendance, who is online, who is asleep, somehow like this. Set up a practice session using Zoom breakout rooms. The rooms in the Zoom are very important. For example, split a class of 30 students into 5 breakout groups of 4 students each and create the rubrics so that students know what's expected for them from the homework. The second type, and I mean on the other hand, asynchronous learning somehow, which is the later or the delayed one, asynchronous learning allows you to learn on your own schedule within a certain time frame you just assign. And you can access and complete lectures, reading, homework, and other learning material at any time during a 1 or 2 week period. Okay. Here we have what? Some tips for the remote or asynchronous learning. Number 1, create a dynamic agenda, because the mission here, as I think it's somehow difficult. Why? If you let him free or set him free, he may be somehow a lazy one, is not be that sedulous one, to be in time always, to be alert. No, because he will leave you, believe me. You have to just follow him up, but through an agenda. How? The screencast video of teacher providing instruction and a practice time for student. Submit to the teacher for feedback. Number 1, make it interactive, somehow like the live one. It's important in online learning that the students constantly engage with the content and they continue thinking critically. Professor Maryna said that thinking critically is not an inborn. Yes, she is completely right. It is something somehow acquisitive. You can just acquire through discussion. When you speak with the other one, with the other side, you will gain the fruit of his mind. When you know the knowledge of that person, you just have 3 ones, either overestimated or underestimated, and that's my own opinion. You have to know the law, the knowledge of the other before just delivering your content of learning. As they work, let me continue. When I design learning modules and provide midway feedback, I didn't say the last or the lastly one. Provide the midway. Don't set him free as he thinks or he likes. When we know the feedback is the best practice of teaching and learning, but it's especially important in virtual learning, without the ability to peek over students' shoulder on one hand and see how they are doing with the material you recently presented. I mean, you have to follow them up clearly and simply. You know, where are they? What are they suffering from? Maybe they are in the middle of the way and they suffer from, and just you expect the homework or the assignment at the end of the week. So if you just split your timetable, this will be a great opportunity to make use of them. This photo or this picture shows some points being shared between the synchronic and asynchronous. Complete work each week on your instructors and the classmates. In the middle, they attend class from anywhere. Here we have received immediate feedback on quizzes. Here we have participate in real-time discussions during the class time. Both have communicate regularly with the instructors. In a way or another, they have to be with the instructor. Here we have schedule group work when it's important, convenient for everyone. Here we have improved presentation skills. They share network and make connection with the classmate. They need a network. So the last points, or the conclusions, I call it. Self-study and learning autonomy through the competence and cognitive-based approaches. Cognitive, I mean, try just to know the points or the level you have reached with them through the assignment, their behavior, attitude, everything. At last, you have just to make sure where are you. Number two, cognitive approach to study. Students being active participant of the educational process, capable of self-processing. So when they gradually know how to proceed and process the mission, they step by step develop and analyze and critical evaluation and acquire knowledge and competence. Competence is very important, and really willing to develop and adopt their own educational strategy in the way they desire. Educational and training materials adaptable to learning environment and the students' requirements in a flexible combination of the core invariable and the cluster variable models. Here we have what? Two kinds of one. For example, it depends on the assessment that you are assessing. Either it's formalistic at the immediate assessment, I forgot the name. And later on, you have to give that feedback to them or depend on the exam. But try to less importantly depend on exams. Try just to engage them, develop their skills, their attitude, their ability to discuss, to present, to give homework on time. These are important factors. Openness of the virtual learning community, welcoming students and teachers, upload, modify, and make alteration to the existing education material. That's the beneficial point or the side. And accessibility provide the virtual learning environment to relevant and selected internet sources like audio, video, interactive tasks. And by this, I came to the end of my presentation. I wish that it was something interesting for you. Thank you very much. So, have you enjoyed something?
Interesting, actually, workshop, and we got much information from them. I wonder where Mr. Mohammed got these gorgeous ladies from Ukraine. And actually, what I saw in this workshop, I'll talk about some technical issues, actually. I did not see that much transition between the sections of the presentations. For me, it looked like there's a gap between the presentations, and the links between the presentations were not that harmonic, and so it did not drag me towards the second or the next presentation. I'm starting from the bad ones, not from the positive ones, and so then I will try to talk about the positive points as well. For the digital and e-learning and online learning, I would like to ask Maria or Arena, any one of them, especially. There are some factors when she talked about the story that many people believe in fake stories, and it's not up to them. Actually, to be honest, I believed in your story first time. But when you talked about the story and why people shouldn't believe in any story, there are some factors I would like to ask. What are the factors that make people believe in fake stories straight away? Could it be emotional? Could it be the person that tells the story? Or could it be the nature of the audience? What makes people believe in stories straight away? And for the other technical issues, most of the slides were a little bit wordy, and some of the slides were a bit small. We couldn't even read the words inside the slides. And there is one thing else that I expected to have a feedback at the end of the workshop, so we could make our point of views towards the presentations, not just asking questions, because once you ask questions just by talking, then we could forget all the advice. And then there should be, let's say, should have been recorded actually, because most of the university lecturers in our university were expecting you to record this interesting topic, and then they could just watch the video record later on someday. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I got much information from you, and actually the topics, most of them were interesting, and thanks again.
To this issue, well, like I said at the beginning, the story is interesting, really. And
Yes.
someone who created this story is a talented person. He or she, I don't know, and knows how to influence the people, how to dupe them, how to deceive them, how to make them hooked. And they know why it works. Why it works? Because the ability of the brain is like this. We don't look for long answers. Quick answer like this. It's a snap. Well, I read it and I believed in it and I liked it and I want to share it with someone else because I don't ask questions to myself. Okay, the fact, I have to compare when exactly the university was built. Who was the guy who built this university? Oh, really? He had a son, and did his son go to that university? I have to find this information. And what helps us to find the information? Syntopical reading. It means, what means syntopical reading? You have to find some similar information, but in different sources. Well, you read about this here in this source. Find out if it is reliable or not reliable. Try to find this information, the same information, in another source. You will never find it. Well, this information will not be found anywhere, only here on this Russian site, anecdotes, story or something like this. Okay, so syntopical reading, only syntopical reading can help you to find out whether the story is a hoax or a real historical fact.
Thanks a lot.
The brain, we believe in everything. We don't have to complicate things.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Dr. Maria, for explaining the answer. Please, anyone else has something to add? Feel free to ask the professors, and you have just 5 or 10 minutes to end up the session. Thank you very
Well,
much.
if we speak about online learning, about face-to-face, just offline learning and blended courses, in my opinion, blended courses is like the best way out. But, well, no, I like just offline learning. It goes without saying. It's really, the atmosphere is great, and all the things the previous speaker spoke about. Yes, they are very important, and probably, but blended learning also presents a lot of opportunities, especially, for example, to students with special educational needs and online learning as well. And I think it's like the choice of university after, if we overcome the coronavirus and we will back to normal. So I think it's up to the universities to decide which courses can be suggested, like online or in a blended mode, just taking into account the needs of the students. So I think this is the best way out. And actually, that is what I observed in some countries. I think that it's a good experience, really.
Okay, how do you deal with international students regarding blended learning?
for example, I taught about the course I taught in Poland, in some Polish university. So the majority of students were international, no problem. So we, as I have already mentioned, there were 2 like face-to-face sessions, and we discussed a lot of questions they needed, and I uploaded all the information via Moodle. I don't know whether you use this learning platform in Iraq. Do you use it?
Which one?
Moodle.
Yeah, well, of course
yes,
we use it.
Yes, you use, yes. Yeah. So, and I uploaded all the information, for example, the recorded lectures, video lectures, the presentations from the lectures, some additional readings, and so on. And they had to analyze it, and they did and send the assignments. And I think that, so when I asked them to fill in the questionnaire with their like ideas about the course, like they were quite positive. I think it worked well. It works well with the university students. It can work well if it is properly organized.
In the first time you mentioned that Moodle is free, but I believe that Moodle is not free. You have to have license for Moodle.
Probably it's not, then maybe I'm mistaken, but I have always been told that it's free and that it's at least it's not that expensive, because for example, when I was in the US and I was like on the program there and they use Canvas, another learning platform, I am afraid to make a mistake, but it seems to me that they paid for it several $100,000 for this platform. Yes. So that is why comparing to Canvas, for example, it's free.
Yeah, it's free, maybe in comparison to Canvas, but it also costs about, let's say, $10,000 Moodle.
I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure. I cannot answer you, but I'm not sure.
Okay, we use Google Classroom here, and it's free because we have, let's say, G Suites for education, and we have got the offer from Google company, and it works very well.
Okay, so I know that some European universities, because we have some programs with them, some, for example, from Estonia, from, at least I know from Estonia, they also use Moodle, the same version we do. So I had the opportunity to see 3 versions of Moodle in Poland, in Estonia, and in Ukraine. They are all pretty much the same, with the same opportunities. But why I like these learning platforms, they can integrate other tools, like Padlet, for example, like Big Blue Button, and so on. So that is why I like learning platforms, online learning platforms.
One last request: if you have any useful links, things, you can add it to this chat, and we would be grateful.
I have already added, and I can. Okay,
I have copied your link. Just I can.
Okay, and I have some other links I presented in one of the slides of some tools. I don't know how to do it now because I think the time is limited. Yes. But probably I can, like, send the slides to some people, and they will share. Okay.
I do apologize. I asked too many questions because I saw no one was asking, so that's why.
No, at all. It was our pleasure. Just we have some stimuli. Yes, thank you very much.
No problem.
Just let me copy the link for you again, please. Yes, yes, here is the copy one. So try to make you. Yeah, Professor Lyrna, if you have any other links to try to just upload it here in the chat.
Okay, I will try to do it very quickly. Yes, I will try.
Just make sure that they have been the links. Yes, as I think I have copied.
I will try.
Yes, digitalteacher.com framework and
I will send some links to some tools we use, okay?
Okay, great.
As well. I will try to do it quickly.
Okay, we have received some of the links. So I'd like just to express my gratitude for all the professors who have participated in this session, and also the parties and the participants who have been patient with us because we had a technical issue, and later on it will be fixed. Thank you very much for your listening and for your time. So have a nice night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Later on, you will receive the certificates by God will. So if there is no any further questions, I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you, inshallah.
See you, inshallah. Goodbye.
See you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
I guess I can finish the conference, yes?
No? As long as you are the host, you can end it straight away. It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
no problem.